Welcome to Marvelicious Toys, hosted by Justin and his amazing friends, Arnie and Marjorie. We bring you news and reviews of Marvel toys, statues, and more, because not all Marvel collections can be bagged and boarded. They're not just toys, they're Marvelicious.
But I did want to kind of compare to the previous one, because I think one of the reasons they might think Mary Jane was so popular is their previous Mary Jane maquette, based off of another hugely popular artist, Adam Hughes, quickly sold out, has long been sold out, goes for a pretty penny on eBay, where I picked her up, but I got a bargain.
Comparatively?
Comparatively. And this is the Mary Jane Adam Hughes collection, and this one's a little bit controversial.
Yeah, this one caused a big flap because she's got a whale tail.
She's got more than a whale tail.
First of all, her ass is eating her jeans. Her ass is starving because it has sucked the denim into the crack.
There's a wedgie, yes. There's also you mentioned the torn jeans. There's a big tear right below the left pocket.
And I'm sorry, if you have any kind of meat on your bones, and you can be a really thin girl, but you have some skin to you, that bulges. Unless you're like anorexic, that bulges.
Keep in mind, Mary Jane is a supermodel.
That's true. Well, they'd never let her be a model with boobs that big. She wouldn't be able to fit into the clothes.
Kate Upton?
Yeah, and she gets crap for her boobs.
Well, that's the thing about this one is she's leaning over, and when women lean forward, their breasts tend to...
They jiggle.
They look larger.
Yes.
Because of gravity. Mary Jane is bending over, and gravity is in full effect.
The term fun bags comes to mind.
I like how they made it so realistic. There's Tide at the bottom.
It's actually not name brand Tide. It's generic clean with a K.
Yes, but that's clearly a Tide bottle.
It is. I love that they even put little prints on the back. I gotta say, this statue, it has some other amazing detail. The floor is this linoleum, and it is got like some grime in it, and it's got some speckling to it.
More with Mary Jane's housekeeping skills. Arnie, you're going to give her a complex. She's filthy!
Now, part of the controversy was how she was dressed. Part of the controversy is that people thought Mary Jane was doing Peter's laundry, and that was misogynistic.
I do your laundry. Does that mean you're misogynistic?
There's some not so hidden symbolism going on here, because she's got a pearl necklace, folks.
She does have a big pearl necklace. If a man gave me a pearl necklace like that, I'd do his laundry.
Well, I actually talked to Adam Hughes about this statue at Comic-Con. And here's a clip from that interview. So joining us now at San Diego Comic-Con 2013 is Adam Hughes. Thank you for coming.
Hey, thanks for having me.
So, you've been doing statues for several years. I've been seeing your Sideshow stuff many years ago, and you've done DC Direct. Gentle Giant just announced a piece. So, was the Sideshow line your first line of statues paged art?
Wow, I started on the Sideshow stuff and the DC Direct stuff at around the same time, so somebody better than me is going to have to recall which I did first, but I want to say, and don't hold me to it, I want to say that the mini bus, the first wave of mini busts that I did for DC Direct, which was the first mini bust they did, I think that preceded the Sideshow stuff by a year or two, but don't hold me to it.
And how did you get involved? How did they approach you to do the mini busts?
Well, DC Direct is just one wing of DC Entertainment, so they just contacted me and said, "Hey, we want to do statues of your art. How do you feel about it?" And I was like, "Okay." I mean, it's interesting to see what another artist, meaning a sculptor, is going to do with my two-dimensional art. So I thought it would be fun, and we went from the mini busts to the full statues, the CoverGirls line, and it wasn't a terrific amount of headache on my part. I mean, sculpting something takes so much longer than drawing, just a model sheet of it or a figure drawing. So the sculptors like Jack Matthews or Tim Miller, Tim Bruckner, guys like that, they're the ones that are like putting like their lives into this stuff. I really just felt like a general sitting on top of a tank with a cigar and some binoculars, just kind of going, more boobs, less waist, goofy stuff like that. So for the most part, for me, it was just kind of fun. It was more like a hobby than a job or an assignment.
So when you were tasked, did they use pre-existing drawing for the busts, or did they have you draw new pieces that they were then going to sculpt?
When we did the mini busts, they were new pieces. I did turnarounds, like model sheets or whatever they call them. I don't know. I am not a professional of any kind. So I just was like, okay, I do doodles, grunt. I would just draw the bust from several angles and let somebody else work the bugs out of it. Now, when we got to the Cover Girls thing, they did want to turn existing covers into statues, which became a little bit of a problem because while I've done a lot of different covers for a lot of different companies, I haven't done all their characters. So when they were doing the DC ones, it was like, oh great, we'll pick out of all your Wonder Woman covers, Adam, we're going to do this one. Hey, out of all your Catwoman covers, we're going to do that one. And then they would just sit there and go, have you ever drawn Hawkgirl? And I was like, this will be the first time, guys. And they're like, oh, and they kept trying to well, maybe we could find a way to do a cover. And after a while, they just abandoned the whole making sure it came from an existing cover. And I started designing them from, just from my head, or, as opposed to coming from a cover. So the busts, no, they were just designs. And the first wave of the Cover Girls were based on covers, and we just went back to what we were doing for the mini busts, which was designs.
And so for the new statues for DC Direct, and then also the Sideshow Comiquettes that were done, those were original art as well, correct?
Yes, those were, we'd sit down, and now on the DC ones, they would just sit there and say, hey, come up with an idea. On the Sideshow Collectibles one, Sideshow really liked a little bit more of a sort of a group dynamic where we would all talk about stuff. So I would on the Sideshow statue, especially because they're larger and a little more like time and cost intensive to make. I would do thumbnails of different poses. I think for the Emma Frost statue, I did 7 or 8, and then they picked the one thumbnail they liked. So I took that concept and then turned it into like a full turnaround that they could use. So we were creating art from scratch, but on the end with Sideshow Collectibles, it would be more of me working with the head of the creative department, me working with the sculptor, me working with the paint department, and at every stage we'd be talking and going, well, what do you think? What shade of lipstick should the Black Queen have? Things like that. Much more of a collaborative effort, whereas the DC Direct thing was sort of a kind of a more like the Last Supper. It's just, start with Peter, then go to Paul, then go to Judas, then ask the Lord what he wants. It was all one of a time. You'll notice I'm avoiding the phrase assembly line because that just seems to bleed the art out of it. But it was sort of an assembly line process. Designer, sculptor, painter, factory in China, that sort of stuff.
So with the, on the big sign behind you, you have the Rogue there, which is from the Sideshow box and the limited print. So this was one of the angles you drew, but you drew a turnaround so that they could see what you envisioned from the sides and whatnot?
I think I did on most of them. I can't vouch for it because we did a bunch of them, and it seemed like on every one we did something a little bit different. I think on the Rogue, what we did was I drew it from the front once, and then I would just do little details and stuff to send to the sculptor, I think, not to sound like a pig, but I think her butt should be shaped like this. I think the hood should hang this way in the back. And the nice thing about working with the sculptor is when the sculptor starts slapping clay around, I can say, no, it needs to be more arched to the back, or no, I really need the head to be cocked at a little bit of an angle, which sort of eliminates the need for extensive turnarounds. You're actually, it's almost like being there with the sculptor as he's making the armature of the body and actually slapping the clay on. You can have him move it into the positions you would do as if you were, the sculptor yourself. So it's a very nice collaborative effort. So I think on the Rogue, the one we're looking at behind us, I think there was just the one illustration, which was the design that they modeled it after, and then I went and did the litho from that.
And then one of the ones with Sideshow that I know got a lot of buzz and a lot of heat both directions is the Mary Jane with doing the laundry. Can you give us a little backstory on that?
Yeah, well, you'll notice there's a lot of gray in my beard, and that really happened during that whole 2-week period with the Mary Jane nonsense. It really bothered me because anybody that looks at my body of work, yes, I draw beautiful, vivacious women, but I always draw strong women. I don't draw women hugging Conan's leg or women chained to walls waiting to be rescued by men. I draw women that take care of themselves. And the person that got upset about the Mary Jane statue, from what I understand, wasn't even a comics fan, wasn't even a statue fan. It was just oh, I saw this on the internet and I'm going to get my soapbox out. And it created a lot of problems for me because, one, if I was going to, and I've said this before, if I was going to do a statue of Mary Jane doing Spider-Man's laundry, which she's not, the statue is she's finding his costume in the laundry basket and she's looking over her shoulder going, I figured out your little secret. It's that sort of like just a little cute kind of a Gil Elvgren pinup moment, and people took it as, no, she's doing his laundry. And I'm going, who does laundry in a basket on a coffee table? I mean, that's stupid. It doesn't even make sense. And two, if I was going to do a statue of somebody doing laundry, like Mary Jane doing Peter Parker's laundry, I would totally empower her. I mean, she would be like angrily folding it, looking at him going, I better have breakfast in bed tomorrow, you photo taking son of a bitch. I'm doing this as a favor to you. I would make it fun, and I was accused of misogyny and all that kind of stuff, and that really bothered me. I lost 3 whole days of my life doing damage control on that. But ultimately, it's a nice statue. The sculptor did a good job. The fans, most importantly, the fans understood it. They know the relationship of Mary Jane and Peter Parker. They got it in the context with which I created it and which Sideshow executed it. So ultimately, it just ended up being something that you talk about a podcast several years later and go, oh my God, do you remember that? Yeah. But it was...
Well, what's funny is, as somebody who's been covering these collectibles for many years, it was like a tempest in a teapot, but years later, it's something that people look back on, but again, people know the statue. People love the statue. The statue goes for crazy amounts on eBay. So the legacy of the statue is very positive among the fans.
Yeah, well, that's just it. A lot of, ultimately, it's like, how does this play down the road? What sort of legacy you're going to leave behind when you're doing this kind of stuff? And you just sort of weather the nonsense while it happens. We live in a time where anybody with access to the internet can hear part of something, look at a section of a photograph, hear part of a news story, and then instantly start a campaign. And it's like, I get approached a lot, like on Twitter and stuff like that, where people say, hey, could you retweet this charitable endeavor? Or something terrible is going on in this country, could you please retweet it? And I never do, because I'm going, I don't have all the facts yet. My life was made miserable by somebody doing a knee-jerk response and getting something wrong. I'm not going to do the same thing. So yeah, now down the road, we just sit and have a drink and go, oh, Mary Jane statue, how wacky you were.
So when you get these statues and you see the final product, is there one specific one where you looked at and it just blew you away that it came out so much better than you thought it would?
Yeah, a lot of them are like that. I mean, the White Queen statue really surprised me, and it might have been because it was the first one, and I was not used to seeing my stuff, realized in 3 dimensions, at 3 feet high, and I was like, wow, this is really unbelievable. The Lara Croft one where she's power sliding down the side of the Mayan temple firing the gun, that's probably the one where, like, I was like, oh, that's even cooler than I imagined it. I really wanted a sense of movement. I wanted she's almost like tearing a wake through the foliage, and they really kind of pulled that off nicely. And it's one of those ones where, okay, I designed it. When you're designing these statues, you have to think 3-dimensionally, but you're still doing 2-dimensional drawings. That was one of the ones where I spun it around more than any others to go, oh my God, look at it from that angle, look at it from this angle, and it was like working from any point of view. And that's one of the secrets to like a really good statue design is I think the Sideshow guys always refer to it as the silhouette. It's like how does the silhouette read? And he's making air quotes, folks. How does the silhouette read? Meaning, okay, it looks good from the front. How does it look from the side? How does it look from behind? And a really well-designed statue will look good from any angle. That's sort of like the bottom line is like, does this work? Like you shouldn't have to put a piece of tape making an X on the floor going, to enjoy this statue, stand here. At that point, do a painting, do a drawing. So I think, yeah, that Lara Croft, I've actually got her on top of my the hutch of my drawing table, so I can actually look at her every day while I'm working. So I'm going to go with that one. People say, oh, how do you make these characters look like they're kind of like they've got life to them? Other people draw pretty girls, and they just look like statues. They look like real dolls. They're like replicants. They're like Nexus 5, Playboy buddies or something. And I always tell people I always draw characters from the inside out. I always go, well, what's the character thinking? What's on her mind? What is she experiencing right here? And that's what I did with all my artwork, and that's what I did with the Snow Bunny Padme. I was like, yeah, I want to nail the likeness of Natalie Portman, and I want to bring the Clone Wars, the Genndy Tartakovsky, I hope I pronounce his name right, cartoon to life, and sort of like as if it were like, the Clone Wars, like Star Wars Episode 2.5 or something. But when I just got down to drawing it, I'm going, well, what is Padme thinking right now? What is actually going through her head at this moment? And that sort of informs how the face looks and how the posture of the body is. And I think that might be what you're talking about.
All right, well, Adam, thank you so much for the time. Fan of your work, fan of the statues, and I hope you have a good con.
Oh, thank you very much for having me. I hope everybody has a great San Diego Comic-Con.
So you see, she's not doing his laundry, folks. She discovered his laundry and realized, oh, Peter is Spider-Man because he had the Spider-Man in his laundry basket.
So let me ask you this. All I have to go by here is your awesome photos that you've taken. And with photos, the lens is a little unforgiving when you get in tight on some of these shots. I can see some sloppy paint work here and there. Overall, just when she's in front of you, does she feel high quality and well painted?
She does. There's a couple spots, if you're looking, where like the hair meets the face, where the paint just, it's not entirely clean. But the panty line is nice and tight. And the jeans have the little bit of frayed denim around them that looks very good. They gave a wash to her belt. What kind of belt is that, Marjorie? You're a woman. You know about clothes. Is that misogynistic to say?
Yes.
Just a rope belt, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just like a macrame belt.
Macrame. That's the word I'm looking for. It's got a little bit of a wash to it that adds detail. I'll tell you the only thing that worries me about this statue, though, is this wash basket is not attached to anything. You just literally set it on the podium, and then you maneuver it in ever so closely to her fingers, which never actually touch it. This is begging to get bumped and snap those fingers off.
Yeah.
This is put on the back of the shelf so nobody gets near it kind of statue. And I think they did a great job of capturing Adam Hughes' art. Adam Hughes is known for well-endowed superheroes.
When he draws Spider-Man, he's got a huge rack.
But if you look at the art on the print, I got the exclusive with the print, he really made Mary Jane's face like almost a World War II pinup face.
I was going to say, for as accurate as the rest of the statue is, the faces don't look like they came from the same source.
It doesn't look that great of a face. And you look at the art that Adam Hughes drew, and that face really works. It gives it more of a sly feel. And here, it looks like a statue face. The J. Scott Campbell one has that sly look, and I'm really getting a lot of character out of it. Whereas the Adam Hughes one, it's just kind of a blank expression.
Yeah.
And so in that way, it gets dinged a little bit. It is a lot bigger. It stands about 3 inches taller than the other one. So it's a much larger scale of statue.
It is an impressive piece. I'm seeing a few little details left out in the sculpt that aren't there from the original artwork. Like we were talking about the belt. The artwork has the belt hanging down, like, some of those belts do. And looks like she has some bracelets on, like some of those rubber friendship bracelets on in the artwork. Those didn't make it to the statue. But other than that, quite a bit of detail in there.
If you look at all the official Sideshow photography, they kind of hid the, as one of you called them, fun bags.
That was Marjorie.
No, wait a second. I call them what they're supposed to be called.
But I do like Adam Hughes' art. I do like having the statue in my collection.
Yeah, like you say, though, the whole thing kind of has a 1940s type of pinup girl style to it. So it's not like the last one. It's got sexy parts and pieces and stuff like that, but it's not just exuding. It's not oozing sex. It's not one of those things you see in the Entertainment Earth catalog where they have to put like a censored bar over it in the magazine.
No, not at all. And I think there is some good sculpting going on here. It's based off good art, and it's fun. Like Marjorie said, the Tide bottle is just a great little detail that I love about this statue.
I do think her thong is a little tight, though. It appears to be digging into her skin.
I just had to look though because her jeans do that thing that jeans do on women because they don't wear belts, where like she bends over and there's the gap a couple inches between the jeans and the body, and the thong goes down there, and I just had to get the macro lens in there and go, okay, where is the terminus of this?
It's down there.